There is a 4 by 4 foot bed in Pennsylvania that produces over 100 pounds of food every single year. Not in a greenhouse, not with special equipment, not with any seed you can't buy at a garden center or order from a catalog for a few dollars. Just a square of dirt smaller than a coffee table, growing the same 5 crops in roughly the same arrangement, year after year, since 1987. The family that tends it has fed 3 generations of children out of beds like that one. Most years, they haven't bought a vegetable from a supermarket between June and November. I want you to sit with that number for a second. 100 pounds, 16 square feet, the footprint of a small love seat. Now compare that to what most of us are pulling out of our own gardens. I gardened in raised beds for 15 years before I started actually measuring what I produced. Most years, a bed that size gave me 30 pounds of food, maybe 40 in a good summer. And I thought I was doing fine. The truth is, I was working harder than the family in Pennsylvania, planting more carefully than they did, watering more than they did, and producing less than half of what they did. Not because of soil or zone or weather, because of a small handful of habits, 5 specific ones, that quietly cap how much food a small garden can give back. Once you see those habits, you can't unsee them. And the crops that fix them aren't exotic, aren't difficult, and aren't anything you haven't heard of before. They're the same 5 that experienced old-school growers across America and Europe, including a fair number of the Amish families farming in Lancaster and Holmes County, have leaned on for generations. The principle behind all 5 is the same. Every crop on this list does at least one of 3 things. It produces multiple harvests from a single planting. It grows upward instead of outward. Or it grows fast enough that the same patch of soil produces 3 or 4 times in one season. Combine all 3 strategies in the same bed, and small starts producing the way large used to. The first crop is leaf lettuce, and the technique that turns it from a one-shot crop into a 4-month food source. Cut and come again. Almost every gardener I've ever spoken with treats lettuce as a single harvest. Sow the seed, wait 6 weeks, pull the whole plant out of the ground. The bed is empty. Start over. That's the mistake. Lactuca sativa regenerates from its center, and as long as you leave that center untouched, the plant keeps producing new leaves for 2 months or more. Loose leaf and butterhead varieties, Black Seed Simpson, Salad Bowl, Red Sails, Lolo Rosso, Butter Crunch, Oak Leaf, are the ones that handle this best. The Royal Horticultural Society and Cornell Cooperative Extension both recommend the same technique. Pinch the outer leaves off at the base of the stem, 4 or 5 at a time, and leave the smaller central leaves alone. The plant pushes new growth within 3 days. One lettuce plant grown this way gives you 6 to 8 rounds of harvest before it finally bolts in summer heat. Stack a second principle on top of that, staggered sowing, and the bed never empties. Sow a short row of seed every 7 to 10 days. The first row is mature and producing. The second row is filling out. The third row is sprouting. The fourth is about to go in. The same 4-foot strip that used to give you 1 harvest now gives you fresh salad every week from late spring through autumn. The second crop is pole beans, and this is where vertical growing changes the math entirely. Most beginning gardeners grow bush beans. They're easy, they don't need supports, they fit anywhere. The trade-off is yield. Bush beans produce 1 short, concentrated flush of pods across about 3 weeks, and then they're finished. The same square foot of soil produces food for less than a month, and then sits idle for the rest of the season. Pole beans behave completely differently. Phaseolus vulgaris climbing varieties, Kentucky Wonder, Blue Lake FM1K, Romano Italian, Vortex, Scarlet Runner if you want flowers and pods both, produce continuously from midsummer right through to first frost. The same vine that gives you a handful of pods in early July is still throwing pods in late September. You don't need anything elaborate for the trellis. Bamboo poles tied into a teepee, a nylon mesh stretched between 2 stakes, a cattle panel arched over a path, even strings hanging down from a horizontal pole. The vines will climb anything 2 meters tall. The harvest rule is simple. Pick often. Every 2 or 3 days at peak season. Every pod you leave on the vine signals the plant it's done reproducing and tells it to start shutting down. Every pod you remove tells it to push out fresh flowers instead. A row of pole beans, 4 feet wide and 2 meters tall, 8 to 10 plants climbing, will produce 10 to 15 pounds of fresh beans across a season. The same footprint planted with bush beans gives you maybe 3 to 4 pounds, all at once. That's the vertical advantage. You've taken the same patch of soil and added a second story to it. And the third crop on this list pushes that idea even further. The third crop is tomatoes, and specifically indeterminate varieties grown vertically. Most home gardeners plant determinate or semi-determinate tomato varieties. Stick a flimsy wire cage around them, and let the plant do whatever it wants. By August, the bed is a sprawling jungle. Half the fruit is touching the ground and rotting. Air can't move through the canopy. Blight settles in. The plant produces one big flush in late July, then quietly winds down for the season. That's the standard backyard tomato experience. And it's the reason most people accept maybe 10 pounds of fruit from a plant and consider it a good year. Indeterminate varieties, grown the right way, produce 3 to 5 times more food from the same square foot of ground. The difference comes down to 2 things: vertical training and active pruning. Pick the right variety first. Indeterminate means the vine keeps growing and producing all season, instead of finishing in one flush. Sun Gold, Sweet 100, Black Cherry, Sun Sugar, Cherokee Purple, Brandywine, Castelluto Genovese, Sweet Million. These are the ones that reward this method. Cornell and the Royal Horticultural Society both list them clearly in their indeterminate categories. Train each plant up a single strong support, a sturdy stake driven at least 18 inches into the ground, or a length of jute string dropped from a horizontal bar overhead, or a tall metal spiral. Tie the main stem to the support every 8 to 10 inches as it grows, using soft garden twine or strips of old cotton t-shirt. Don't let the plant flop. Don't let it sprawl. Force it upward. Then prune the suckers. Suckers are the small shoots that emerge at the joint between the main stem and a leaf branch, in the V where they meet. On an indeterminate tomato trained as a single stem, those suckers will turn into separate vines that compete with the main one for energy. Pinch them off when they're small, between the size of a thumbnail and a finger, and the plant channels everything into fruit production on the main stem. Some growers keep 1 or 2 suckers on each plant to create a double stem system, which produces slightly more fruit but takes up more vertical space. Either method works. What doesn't work is letting every sucker grow. One indeterminate tomato vine trained this way, in roughly 1 square foot of soil, will produce 8 to 15 pounds of fruit across a full season. Cherry varieties on the high end of that, slicing types at the lower end. Compare that to a sprawling, uncaged determinate, producing 4 to 6 pounds from 3 times the ground space, and the math becomes obvious. The fourth crop is kale, and this is where you start to understand what long harvest actually means. Kale isn't on this list because it produces dramatic yields all at once. It's on this list because of how long it keeps producing. Brassica oleracea varieties, Lazzinato, also called Cavolo or dinosaur kale in the UK and Italy, Red Russian, Winter Boar, Red Boar, Curly Scotch, will produce edible leaves continuously for 6 to 8 months from a single planting, longer in mild climates. That's not an exaggeration. That's standard performance when the plant is harvested correctly. The technique is the opposite of how most people harvest leafy greens. With kale, you harvest from the bottom up. Take the oldest, lowest leaves first, the largest ones hanging closest to the ground, by snapping or cutting them off cleanly at the stem. Never touch the cluster of small leaves at the top of the plant. That growing point is what produces all the future leaves. As long as you leave the central crown intact and keep stripping the lower leaves every few days, the plant keeps pushing new growth upward. By midsummer, a healthy kale plant looks like a small palm tree. Bare stem at the bottom, leaf cluster at the top, 3 feet tall, still producing. Space kale plants properly when you put them in. 18 inches apart in good soil, 24 if your bed is on the leaner side. They need that room to develop fully. Once established, the only ongoing work is consistent watering, an occasional top-up of compost or balanced organic fertilizer, in that bottom-up harvest 2 or 3 times a week. The reward is unmatched on a per square foot basis. One mature kale plant, harvested through a full season, produces somewhere between 3 and 5 pounds of leaves. A small bed of 6 plants will keep a household in salads, smoothies, sautés, and stews from June well into November in most of the United States, and right through to Christmas in milder parts of England and the Western European coast. In the mildest zones, kale overwinters and starts producing again in February. The fifth crop is where the math changes again, because this one isn't about long harvest at all. It's about pure speed. Radishes, and specifically, how to use them to make sure no part of the bed sits empty for more than a week. Radishes are one of the fastest food crops you can grow. 25 to 30 days from seed to harvest for the standard round varieties. French breakfast, cherry belle, Easter egg, rover, sparkler. That's 3 to 4 weeks. Direct sow them into any open soil, between slow-growing crops, in the gaps left after a lettuce row is finished, along the edges of a bed waiting for tomato seedlings to go in. Within a month, you've pulled a full harvest. The bed isn't empty. Plant another round of seed the same day you pull the radishes, and the soil keeps producing. That's the principle that ties everything else together, and it's the missing habit in almost every struggling small garden I've ever walked through. The principle is this: nothing in the bed should ever sit idle. Every square foot of soil you've prepared is producing food, getting ready to produce food, or being replanted at the moment a crop comes out. Empty beds in July are the single biggest reason home gardens underperform. The radish was harvested 3 weeks ago, and nothing went back in. The lettuce row finished, and the gardener never sowed the next round. The bush beans gave up in late July, and the soil sits exposed until October. Every one of those gaps is unrealized food. The fix is what older growers call succession sowing, a phrase that's gone out of fashion in modern gardening books, but every experienced grower I've ever spent time with still does it instinctively. The moment a crop comes out, something else goes in. Radish out, lettuce in. Lettuce finishes, beans go where lettuce used to be. Spring spinach bolts in May. Summer Swiss chard takes its place. By the time autumn arrives, the cool weather crops slide right back into the warm season spots as those plants tire out. The bed never empties. The same patch of soil produces 3 or 4 times across one growing season, instead of once. The other principle worth saying clearly: every crop on this list rewards consistent harvest. Pole beans produce more the more you pick. Lettuce produces more the more outer leaves you take. Kale pushes new growth the more lower leaves you strip. Indeterminate tomatoes keep flowering as long as you keep removing fruit and pruning suckers. The plant is responding to a signal from you. Pick often, and the plant interprets that as keep going. Leave fruit on the vine, and the plant interprets that as you're done, shut down. Most struggling gardens aren't producing less because the soil is bad or the gardener is lazy. They're producing less because the gardener is picking on the wrong rhythm. Every 2 weeks instead of every 2 days. Whole plants instead of outer leaves. Single harvests instead of continuous ones. The plants are doing exactly what the gardener is telling them to do. The gardener just isn't aware of the message being sent. So that's the 5. Loose leaf lettuce, picked outer leaves only, sown in staggered rows. Pole beans, climbing a simple trellis, picked every 2 or 3 days. Indeterminate tomatoes, single-stemmed, tied upward, suckers pinched off. Kale, harvested bottom up, central crown left untouched, producing for 6 to 8 months. And radishes, sown into every open patch of soil, ready for harvest in less than a month, replaced the day they come out. Lay those 5 crops out properly across a 4 by 4 foot bed. Radishes interplanted along the edges, lettuce in staggered short rows, kale at the back with proper spacing, 2 indeterminate tomato vines trained vertically up tall stakes, and a row of pole beans climbing a teepee at the back corner. And you've built something close to the Pennsylvania bed I mentioned at the start. It isn't a trick. It isn't a system you have to buy. It's 5 crops chosen specifically for the way they reward smart handling, planted in a way that uses every square foot continuously, and harvested in a rhythm that asks the plants to keep producing instead of telling them to stop. There's one more thing worth saying honestly before we close out. None of this is the kind of gardening you do in 20 minutes a week. A bed organized this way needs walking through every 2 or 3 days at peak season, picking outer lettuce leaves, snapping kale from the bottom, twisting beans off the vine, pinching suckers, dropping a fresh row of radish seed into the gap left by yesterday's harvest. 15 minutes a day, most days, through summer. That's the real trade. You don't need more land. You don't need expensive tools. You don't need a greenhouse or a polytunnel or a clever new product. You need 15 minutes a day, 5 crops chosen with intent, and the habits to use them properly. In return, the same patch of dirt that gave you 30 pounds of food last year gives you 80 or 90 this year, then 100 the year after that, once the soil has built up and you found your rhythm. That's the shift. Not from small garden to big garden, from wasted space to working space. If something in this video shifted how you'll look at one of your beds this week, if you've got a row of lettuce you were planning to harvest whole, or a bush bean patch you'd written off after one flush, or an indeterminate tomato that's been sprawling across the ground since June, drop the word grow in the comments. I read them. It tells me you're going to start picking on a different rhythm this season. And it helps the channel reach the next gardener who's been quietly producing half of what their soil could give them. Hit the like button while you're there. Not for me, for the next person who's about to pull a whole lettuce plant out of the ground and doesn't yet know the bed could give them 5 more harvests if they left the center alone. I'll see you in the next one.